Hello, my name is Robert. I'd like to start off by asking what you'd like to be addressed as. Well, I'd like to thank you for coming here today. It shows a lot of maturity and a lot of courage to come together and work this out. I'd like to take this time to explain mediation to you. As a mediator, I am not a judge. I'm not here to suggest or resolve the conflict on my terms. It is solely up to you to resolve this. I'm here to help maintain a fluent resolve to the conflict brought here today, and I hope to make clear both parties' arguments, feelings, and thoughts. If I feel that we are not getting closer to a solution, or I feel that a party is unable to communicate because of both parties being in the same room, there is a possibility of a caucus. This is where I would like to ask both parties to leave the room, or ask one party to leave the room so that I can talk with one party, then switch and talk with the other. These conversations will remain confidential, unless the party wishes to share the conversation to work towards a solution. That being said, today's process will remain confidential from me as the mediator and as both parties as well. Now I would like to review and sign the consent form. The undersigned parties hereby agree to have mediation services provided by the Campus Mediation Program, hereafter referred to as the CMP for this dispute concerning mediation rules. CMP will administer the mediation in accordance with the mediation rules. All parties recognize that the mediation is voluntary settlement negotiation and that the mediator is not a judge and has no authority to force settlement on the parties. The parties may voluntarily agree in writing to the settlement that they consider fair and in the best interest. Mediator. The parties agree that the CMP will select a mediator in accordance with the CMP's rules. The parties recognize that the mediator will be an employee or a student of WCU or the CMP. Fee. No fee will be charged. Consultation with attorneys. The parties recognize that the mediator is not giving legal counsel or analyzing anyone's legal rights. If the parties believe that it is their best interest, they can seek legal representation. Private sessions to caucus. The mediator may hold brief sessions with only one party. These private sessions are intended to improve the mediator's understanding of the party's position, and information gained in the caucus is confidential unless the party agrees to have it brought up in joint session. Confidential. The parties recognize that the mediation is confidential and that the settlement, negotiations, and any actions taken in the mediation process are inadmissible in any litigation of their dispute to the maximum extent allowed by law. The parties specifically agree that there will be no subpoena, depose, or otherwise attempt to require the mediator to testify or produce records, notes, or work product in any future proceedings. There are exceptions to the confidentiality rule. The following must be reported: child or elder abuse, plans for future crimes involving serious bodily harm or death, a second offense of a previously meditated dispute which may be referred to the Department of Student Judicial Affairs, crimes alleged violations of the Code of Student Conduct committed during mediation, and past crimes that must be reported on the clery report with the exception of alcohol or drug use, theft of property valued less than $250, and battery with no injury. Failure to reach agreement. The parties recognize that the mediator's role is to facilitate communication between the parties. The CMP is not responsible for the failure of the parties to reach agreement. The parties understand that if they do not reach agreement in the case referred to the CMP by the DSJA, then the case will be referred back to the DSJA. Other proceedings. The parties agree that they will not request the Campus Mediation Program mediators, volunteers, staff, or employees to testify in any subsequent hearings or court proceedings. Failure to follow through on any agreement reached during mediation. The parties understand that if they do not follow through on an agreement reached during mediation, the case will be referred to the DSJA. Partial invalidity. In the event any provision of this agreement is invalid, the parties agree that all remaining provisions shall be deemed to the full force and effect. Are there any questions about the consent form? Before we get started, I'd like to go over the ground rules. To start, and until I feel comfortable, both parties will address me when they're talking. You will both wait your turn to talk. I have given you both a sheet of paper and a pen to write down thoughts you may wish to bring up when waiting your turn. And finally, always use proper language and never use any foul language. Are there any questions? Well, that being said, let's get started.